Today I'm going to share my testimony with you. I'm Mrs. Jyotsna Gaikwad and I'm Pastor Vinay Gaikwad's wife, and we both serve in Aurangabad. And it's my heart desire that I should share my testimony with you all, and it's going to be in three parts. The first part consists of how I came to know Jesus as my personal savior. The second part consists of how I came to know the purpose which God has in my life, and thirdly, how God guided me in my marriage. So I'll start with my childhood. I've been brought up in a middle class nominal Christian family, and I learned to pray as a child. I was brought up in the city of Mumbai, and our life was quite worldly. We used to watch a lot of movies, and television was an integral part of our life. And we were not very regular to the church. We went to church just once a month, and whenever I went to the church, I thought I did a great favor for the Lord. And we used to reach the church very late. In spite of that, I just kept looking at the clock to see when the church will get over. And this was life for us. But even as I grew up, when I was 17, I was in my 12th standard, and in those days, I could not go to the church the entire year because I had classes on Sundays, and that was not a big deal for me because classes were important for me and the church was not that important in my life. And it so happened that when I had got that 1 month holiday to study, I used to work very hard. I had a lot of ambitions of becoming something big in my life, and I used to work hard right from morning till night. I used to study, but how much ever I studied, I found that I could not remember my studies. And this was a great blow for me. My dreams were shattered. I was very much nervous. I was depressed. And during those times, my parents had started going to a new church, Open Bible Fellowship, and they had arranged special meetings, and a team had come down, friends and followers from Canada, and there was good singing, and I went over for those meetings. And Brother Stafford Cripps was the preacher, and he spoke from the word saying that you have to give God first preference in your life. And when I looked towards my life, God did not have first preference. Studies had more preference in my life. And I decided that day that I will give God first preference in my life. Not only that, but he told about one verse from Bible, which was John 14:6, which said that Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and life. Nobody goes to the Father except by me. So he explained the verse saying that Jesus is the only way to go to heaven, to go to God. And he said that if Jesus had said, I am a way, then chances were left for other ways. But since he said, I am the way, he is the only way. Now, this was new to me because I, as an Indian, always thought that different religions were different ways to go to God. And that day, I decided that I will trust in Jesus in this way, that he is the only way. So this was the beginning of my walk towards God. And from then on, I started reading Bible regularly and praying. And I studied hard for my 12th standard exam. I gave my exam. I started going to church regularly. And I used to go to the Hindi church. Reverend Asa Kumar was the pastor of that church. And he preached about new life. How we can be newborn in Christ. And this all was very much new to me. I had never heard about salvation, and he explained that we have all sinned and death is the wages of sin, and Jesus came in this world to die for us on the cross, and he died in our place. And if we believe in this fact and if we confess our sin, he'll forgive us. and he told a verse from the Bible that was 1 John 1:9, which said that if we confess our sin, he'll forgive us and purify us from all wrongdoings. And I went home and I came on my knees and confessed my sins to God. And after a few days, he preached about Revelation 3:20, in which Jesus said that, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come to him and dine with him." And he explained, saying that according to this verse, he's knocking at each one's heart door. And after going home, again I came on my knees and I prayed that, "Jesus, you come into my life." And then I passed my 12th exam after that, and I took admission for BCom. And when I was in the first year of BCom, even as my exams came, I became tensed again. I was very nervous, and I thought that Jesus had not come in my life. And so I started praying to God that, "Lord, you come into my life again." And this kept happening now and then. I kept praying to Jesus that, "Come into my life," and I thought he had not come. And then after a few months, I heard a testimony in which the person said that I had received assurance. And I thought, this is what is missing in my life, and who else can give me assurance but God? So I started praying to God that he should give me assurance. And even as I prayed, I thought that God will give me some supernatural sign. Because of that, I will be assured, like maybe I'll see a light, or maybe I'll see a cross, or maybe peace will flood my heart, and this is the way I'll be assured. But that was not the way God assured me. One day when I was praying on my knee, one verse came to my mind which I had not read that day. This verse was from Ephesians chapter 2, verse 8, which said that, "By grace through faith you have been saved." And when I thought about what is faith, another verse came to my mind which I had not read that day. This verse was from the book of Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 1, which said that faith is to be sure of things which you hope for. And when I thought that, what is my hope? It is to go with Christ when he comes. And who has to be sure? It is I who has to be sure. Jesus has done his part, and I have to be sure that Jesus died for me on the cross. He suffered for me, and he has given me new life. And when I invited him in my life, he has come in my life. So after that day, I never doubted, and this is how Jesus assured me that he had come in my life. And even as I went to church and I went for Bible studies and youth meeting, this all helped me. Pastor gave me the responsibility of taking up Sunday school, but at first I was very much doubtful that I will be able to take a Sunday school because I will not be able to remember what I have to say to the children. But then he said, "You can make a short list and have the paper with you." And then I thought, after all, I have to teach the children, and so it was okay, and I started taking up the Sunday school. And even as I passed out my FY, SY, and then I was in TY, I was scared that God will call me into his full-time ministry. And the reason I was scared was I was not willing to leave my house. It was a comfort zone for me, and I didn't want to leave my house and go anywhere. And so I didn't want a call from God. But I knew that till I'm studying, God will not call me into his ministry. So I took admission. After I passed out BCom, I took admission for MCom, and I started studying for MCom. And while I was studying, I used to give bank exams and government exams for job. And even as I gave those exams, I passed few of the exams, and I gave interviews also. And in this way I had given the exam of Unit Trust of India, which I passed. And before their results of interview came out, they offered me with a job, temporary job, which they said that if I don't pass out the interview, then I will have to quit the job. But if I pass out the interview, I can continue with them. And then I started working in UTI, and I used to even go into slum. The Ministry of Slum started in this way. There was one girl from the English church who did not know Hindi, and she approached me and told me that there were few people from the slums who had accepted the Lord in one meeting, and since they cannot read and write, she requested me to go and read the Bible to them. And that is how I started going in the slums and reading the Bible for them. And when I used to read, I used to even explain things to them because they did not understand the biblical language quite clearly. So not only that, at times I told them the message which pastor had given on Sundays. And little by little, I wanted to take up the Bible study, and I prayed to God. I said, Lord, I have never been to a seminary, or I haven't been to a Bible college, and I prayed to God that, Lord, you be my teacher, you teach me how to take up a Bible study. And God did teach me, and little by little I started preparing messages and going and telling them from the word. And I was quite happy that I was working as well as serving, and that was my heart desire, that I should work and serve God. But I also knew that I need to do what is God's will in my life. And so I kept this front of God. I said, Lord, if it's your will that I should work and serve, let me get this job for permanent. And it so happened that my interview results came, and I had not passed the interview. And so I came to know that it's not God's will that I should work and serve. And the day it was my last day at UTI, the same day was my MCOM Part 2 results, and I thought that if I go and see the result and if I have passed, then I'll be completing my studies. And so then I need to take a decision about going into ministry. And I said to the Lord, even as I went and saw the results, that, Lord, if I have passed in my exam, then I will go into your ministry. Whichever ministry you show me, I will enter that. And when I went and saw the results, I had not passed. And actually, I was happy about that, because I told you before that I was scared of leaving the house. And so I started preparing for MCOM Part 2 exam again. And even as I prepared, during those times, I had already given an exam of NABARD, National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. And I had passed that exams, and then I gave interview for them, and I passed out the interview. And right from the first day when I joined the job, I prayed that, Lord, help me in staying here the number of days, months and years you want me to stay. And this was my prayer every day of my life when I was working there, that help me in staying here the number of days, months and years you want me to stay. Not only that, but I passed out my MCOM exam, and I knew that it was God who helped me with my studies. Without His help, I could never have completed my master's degree. And even as I was working, I got involved into many of the ministries. I went to orphanage, slum and other places. I went to an outreach team where we came together on Sundays, and we prayed together. Then we went and distributed tracts, and we came back and again prayed. And there were some old women who sat back and prayed for us. And it was a nice time in my life where I was growing, but still I was looking towards God when He'll guide me to go into His ministry. And I was praying for a life partner as well. Lord, help me in getting a husband who loves you, who understands your will, and who does your will. And this was my heart desire, that I should serve the Lord with my husband. And my parents were looking for an alliance for my sister for marriage, but since she was elder. And even as I was waiting on the Lord, one day a proposal came for me, and Reverend Manmote wrote a letter to my parents stating about Pastor Vinay Gaikwad. And after my parents considered that, but they wanted my sister to get married first, but when insisted, they did allow Vinay to come and see me. And he was in Aurangabad. He came to Mumbai to see me, and when we were given time together, I told him my testimony regarding how I came to the Lord. He told about his testimony, how he received Jesus in his life. And we talked for some time. Then we thought we need to meet again next day so that we can talk more. Next morning, before he came, God gave me a good verse from the Bible which said that I will send an angel ahead of you to take you to the place which I have prepared. Then after Vinay came, we talked about likes, dislikes, and then I told him one thing: give me 1 month, I'll pray about this, and if God answers yes, I will say a yes. If God answers no, I will say a no. On his side, he told me that he liked me. Then next day morning, he was supposed to go to Aurangabad, and morning when I was sleeping, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I cried to the Lord. I prayed to the Lord. I said, Lord, have you selected this person for me? Actually, I had not liked Vinay in his looks, but I wanted to know God's will. I put my desire aside, and I asked God to show me his will. What was his will regarding this particular proposal? And I prayed about it. I cried, and after when I got ready to go to my office, even as I was walking, I thought about this, that we talked about likes, dislike, but if his commitment and my commitment differs, we'll never be happy together. And some questions came to my mind which I wrote down, and I wanted to ask Vinay, but I thought that he must have left for Aurangabad. But when I found out he had not left for Aurangabad, he was in Mumbai at his brother's place, Pastor Vidyasagar Gaikwad, and so I went over to their place to talk to him, and then I asked him those questions. The first question was, suppose if we are married and some person comes to our house who is in financial difficulty, and you as a pastor will pray for him, but if I remove my gold earrings and give you and say, go ahead, help this person, what will be your reaction? Would you be happy, or would you think, what on this earth is she doing? And he said that there are many people who are cheaters, but I said, no, suppose if his need is genuine, then he said, I will be happy. Next question was, if we have a stove and the church has a stove as well, and if we finish with our kerosene, would you like to go and bring the kerosene from the church for our use? Because he was staying in a parsonage, and he said no, he will not like that. Another question was, suppose if we have a jeep from the church for evangelism, would you like to go for picnic in it? And he said, no, I will not like that. The fourth question was, suppose if you are on a holiday and you're asked to preach, would you like to preach on a holiday? He said, I'm always ready to preach. And so he answered all the questions positively. And so I said to him that I'm moving towards a positive decision. After that, when I came home, I wanted to talk about this to Pastor. I met Pastor Dutt for this, and he told that he had a vision about this. He told that during those days when Pastor Vidyasagar Gaikwad was sick and he wanted to go and see him, even as he got ready to go, his wife told him that his Pastor Vidyasagar Gaikwad's brother has come from Aurangabad, and even as he got ready and he thought that why his brother has come here to Mumbai, he thought that he had come to see a girl. And he said, next moment your picture flashed front of me. Actually, he had no need of thinking about me, because he was English church pastor, and I went to the Hindi church. I attended just one Bible study in the English church, and So he could have thought about anyone from his church, because there were more than 40 young girls in his church. It was a big church. But still, he said, your picture flashed front of me. And when I went there, I came to know that he had come to see you. So this was a confirmation for me. And then I wrote a yes answer to Vinay. By then, Vinay had gone to Aurangabad. And so I wrote a letter to him saying yes. But after this also, God gave me many more assurance. I had gone to a youth camp, and there Pastor Dutt was preaching on marriage, and he started his preaching in this way, that when people of this world look for a proposal for marriage, what do they see? They see A, B, C, D. A for ability, B for beauty, C for character, D for dowry, E for education, F for family background. These are the things which people of the world see. But you as Christian ought to see commitment. And this struck me, because this is what I had seen in Pastor Vinay. And I didn't ask him what was his pay or how big his house was, but all I looked in him was commitment. And so I knew God had guided me on the right track. And that same night when we were staying at the camp, the youth coordinator's wife, Rela, she sat with me and we were talking together. She didn't know anything about the proposal, but after talking with me for some time, she said, you ought to be a pastor's wife. And this was again a confirmation for me. Next day, while preaching from the book of Ephesians, Pastor Dutt said that your gifts will be confirmed by other believers. She was a believer. She had confirmed something for me, that I ought to be a pastor's wife. So there was one more confirmation which came to me. After that, after a few days, I was feeling very down, and I talked with Rela, and she said that you ask God to talk to you. So I prayed to God. I said, Lord, talk to me today. And that was my sister's birthday, and Pastor Dutt was going to come home, and I knew he would read from the Bible. And so I prayed to God saying, Lord, you talk to me today. And Pastor Dutt came over, and he spoke in this way. When he started reading the Bible, he said, leave your father's household and go to the place which I will show, and I will bless you, and you will be a blessing to others. Now this was like God talked with me so directly. And so now there was no doubt at all. I knew this was God's will, and this was again one more confirmation for me. And once when I was in my office and I was talking to my friend Sudha, and talking to her about Vinay's looks, all of a sudden I thought to myself that I have not liked Vinay in his looks, and I have to spend my life with him. And how will I stay with him all my life? And when this thought came to my mind, I was disturbed, and one more thought came to my mind, that there's a verse in Bible which talks about looks, and I didn't know where in the Bible to search for this verse. And so I took the Bible and I started turning pages one by one, and God took me to that verse. And this verse was in Proverbs 31 chapter verse 30, which said that charm is deceptive, beauty does not endure. And again God spoke to me that don't even look for this. And then I prayed to God. I said, Lord, give me love to love this person. And God gave me love for him. In October he had come to see me, and in January we got engaged. And in February it so happened that I had got piles problem, and I prayed to God for healing, but I was not healed. And so I thought of going for an operation, and I got admitted in the hospital for operation. And then for routine checkup they took my chest x-ray, and when the report for chest x-ray came, it showed that TB germs had entered my body. And this was again a blow for me. And then my operation, piles operation, was done. But after that we saw a specialist, and the specialist told me that the germs have just entered your body, and it's not that you have contacted this disease, but uh, if your body is not able to fight that out, then you can get the disease. But if your immunity is good and you fight it out, you will not get the disease. But we will not wait for that. I will give you a treatment for 6 months. And after that, I knew that I need to share this with Vinay, and I rang him up and called him from Aurangabad to come and see me in Mumbai. He came over and I shared this with him, and he said that he had no problem to get married to me. And this again was assurance for me that God had selected him for me. And one more thing which I would like to share, that doctor said that since this was an accidental discovery about finding the germs in my body, because I went for the piles operation and accidentally this came out that I had contacted, or the germs had entered my body. But if suppose this had not taken place, then the TB germs first attack the uterus, and then I could have never conceived. And so I came to know that how much God had helped me, and it was His grace that He accidentally allowed this to come out, and we could know about it and get treated for it. And finally in April, I resigned from my job from NABARD, and in May I got married. And I can tell you that what God gives is best. If I had got married according to my own desire, I could have got a good person, better or even worse. But when I looked towards God and did His will and got married, God gave me a best husband in the world. And I can also say this, that when we look towards God, God really guides us. And it's not that He's somewhere up there and we don't know how to get guidance from Him. He's always there to guide us and lead us. It's we who should be able to learn from Him what is His desire for our lives and do accordingly. And I'm thankful to God that He has brought me here in Aurangabad, and I and my husband are serving for the Church of Nazarene. He's a pastor as well as a district superintendent here. And we have a very nice congregation, and we both together are serving the Lord. And I have 2 sons, Vipul, Jivan, and really God has blessed us, and He has led us and guided us. And in my life, when I look back, I know that I could never have completed my master's degree without God's help. Not only that, after 22 years of my marriage, I took admission for MDiv in Union Biblical Seminary, and God helped me in completing that as well. And that also because only God helped me, I could do my studies. Without His help, I could never have completed my MDiv as well. And all this is because God is leading and guiding me. And I have a small ministry among the women in our church. I have 3 Bible studies, and God has helped us till now, and He is leading and guiding, and I thank God for that. God bless you. Thank you.